This is how a typical street in a Dutch suburb looks. It's filled with a rows of buildings called terraced houses. They have nice proportions and create livable cities, with pedestrian-friendly streets and most places accessible by walking or cycling. And this is how a typical street in a Polish suburb looks. It's filled with buildings called cube houses. To say these houses, built between the 1960s and 1990s, are ugly would be an understatement. Yet to this day, many former Eastern Bloc countries are filled with these buildings. But why did Western Europe manage to create appealing housing while the Eastern Bloc failed so dramatically? To find out, we need to go back to the 1960s. The cube houses were massively built between the 1960s and 1990s across the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe. It was a key time when the post-war rebuilding really took off. In this region, fast industrial growth brought millions of people from the countryside into cities, causing a huge housing shortage. And this was a time of a major Soviet influence which promoted socialist ideals. This ideology focused on standardization and efficiency. It discouraged individuality in favor of uniform, affordable housing that reflected collective values rather than personal wealth or status. At that time, authorities restricted attempts to acquire property, mostly to influence the architecture of towns and cities. The only way to move out of your parents' house was to either sign up for an apartment in a commie block through housing cooperatives or to construct a single-family home. In 1960s Poland, housing cooperatives were the most common way to buy an apartment. Getting a flat through cooperative was done through personal contribution, which was usually between 5 and 30% of the total costs. After paying the initial share, members had to cover monthly charges to the cooperative, but these were kept relatively low since the state helped pay a big part of the housing costs. However, high demand led to absurdly long waiting times. In many cities, people had to wait for over a decade for an apartment. Because of this, many people began seeking connections to members of cooperative boards. For example, in one of Warsaw's housing organizations, 20% of apartments were allocated to national councils, 30% to police and military, and 20% were assigned to management. This left most of the people waiting, which made buying their own house a much better option if they could afford it. But because authorities wanted to create uniform architecture conforming to socialism, they made sure this wasn't that easy. Poland's 1961 building law was heavily centralized and lacked flexibility, which in practice slowed down housing projects and made the process of building homes far more complicated than necessary. This led to many projects being rejected, resulting in most approved ones being cube houses, which were easy to construct and conform to socialism by not standing out. The simple boxy shape didn't require much skilled labor or complex designs. The construction process was pretty straightforward, consisting of basically building rectangular boxes with flat roofs and simple window openings. This approach meant even less experienced construction crews could build homes quickly, which kept the costs low. But to push people to conform even more closely to socialist rules, the state imposed strict limits on floor space in order to save materials and ensure fair distribution. Government wanted to make sure that everyone would feel equal, no matter how hard they worked. As a result of those limits, a typical commie block apartment for a family of 4 had around 50 square meters of living space, while most single-family houses couldn't have more than 110 square meters of living space. In practice, it was easy to get around this limit with the cube house design. To achieve that, architects would formally classify some rooms as basements or utility spaces to stay within the rules. All of this made the cube house the standard choice for building a single-family house. At the same time, in Netherlands, many terraced houses were built by housing cooperatives, similarly to commie blocks in Eastern Europe. However, the system lacked socialist restrictions, which allowed for creating appealing neighborhoods, with terraced houses proving to be much more livable than Soviet housing. Dutch architects emphasized human scale, walkability, and mixed-use development, and had freedom to experiment, creating diverse yet consistent neighborhoods. The result was housing that balanced practicality with livability that we can see succeeding up to this day. Fortunately, most cube house constructions ended with the fall of the Soviet Union. After 1990s, newly constructed neighborhoods in East Europe became much better, though they still lack the consistency of well-planned Western cities. Because of old traumas of having to conform to socialist rules, some people went to the other extreme, putting effort into making their houses stand out, which creates rows of homes that don't fit together, making the whole landscape look weird. In the end, the cube houses represent a choice between two different values: making things fast and cheap, or making them meaningful and thoughtfully planned. Eastern Europe prioritized efficiency above all else, while Western Europe focused on creating appealing neighborhoods. Decades later, it's easy to see which approach created places where people actually want to live.